بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله كتب الإحسان على كل شيء. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So just as a precursor, I want everyone to know, like the flyer had just shown, that this Bayan, this Khutbah doesn't act as a replacement for the Jum'ah Salah. So if your masjid is open, I recommend that you go and actually go for the Khutbah and you pray Salah. Or if you're just watching this for supplemental knowledge, then alhamdulillah. But in today's short Bayan and this brief Bayan, I want to go over a very heavy subject and try to give it some sort of justice, inshallah, about our purpose in this life and how we should strive to be excellent. And so I begin by talking about an excerpt from Surah Hujurat. And Surah Hujurat, for those who don't know, is the 49th surah in the Quran. And it is a beautiful surah, just like every surah in the Quran is beautiful, but in the manner that it talks about mannerisms, and it talks about how to treat people and how and sins to stay away from. The ayahs about backbiting come in this surah. So I recommend that, we're not going to go through the whole thing, but I definitely recommend everybody to go and open up this surah. It's not very long, it's about 2.5 pages, and read the translation or find a tafsir about the surah and to learn more about this. It's a very fundamental surah for us Muslims. But one of the main incidents that occurs in this surah is of the Bedouins or Arab, that this group of people that kind of lived outside of the city in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and they lived outside of Medina. And they came to the Prophet ﷺ, and they wanted to accept Islam. And so they wanted to learn about Islam. And so the Prophet ﷺ sat down with them. He explained to them about Islam. He explained to them about the Quran, about Nubuwwah, and all that. And then finally, they said, you know what? We believe now. We have Iman. And so right away, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet ﷺ to tell them, no, you don't have Iman. Okay, let's get a little technical here. You don't have Iman, but rather you can say you have accepted Islam, right? And he makes a fascinating differentiation between the words Islam and Iman. And we wonder, what's the difference, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to say that Iman, this thing that you claim to have, hasn't yet entered into your hearts. And so the commentators of the Quran say that this level of faith is a higher level than Islam, right? Islam is that bare fundamental level where you accept that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one, you accept the Prophet as a messenger, right? But then after you do some work, after you do some good deeds, right, this Iman enters into your heart, that you attain a higher level of faith. And so why am I talking about this? Because even above Iman, there is a third level of faith called Ihsan. And Ihsan can be translated as excellence and striving to do everything in the best manner possible. And the Prophet told us that Inna Allah kataba al-ihsana ala kulli shay, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed excellence in every single manner, in every single matter that we do, in every aspect of our life. We should try to do it in the best possible way. And which seems like a lot, and it may seem daunting, right? And the Prophet also describes it. His ihsan is being conscious of Allah, knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there, as if you can see him. And if you can't see him, فَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَاهُ فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala know that he is watching you, right? You may not be able to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but He is watching you, and kind of living with that mentality at all times that, hey, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching me. I'm going to be held accountable for every single thing I do, right? And living with that at all times, that is called ihsan, and that is that highest level of faith that we should strive to be at. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, فَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. That whoever does even an atom's weight of good, they'll see it on the Day of Judgment. And whoever does even an atom's weight of evil, they'll see that on the Day of Judgment. And everyone, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expose that to them. So we have to know that we're held accountable for every single thing. So we also know, since there are different levels of faith, we realize that everyone, every single person is on a different journey, and they're progressing at different rates, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't expect us to be perfect, right? No one will ever be perfect. Even the Prophet ﷺ used to make mistakes. But He does expect us to progress and to be better. He doesn't expect perfection, but He expects progression, right? He wants us to be better. And this doesn't mean that we have to be better than everyone around us. It doesn't mean that we have to be better than all of our friends, right? Who are we comparing ourselves to? We're comparing ourselves to ourselves. We have to be better than we were yesterday. We have to be better than we were this morning. And this change takes place with incremental steps, like little by little by little, you can make these changes. And so it's true that nobody changes overnight, right? Umar radiallahu anhu, we hear his story, and we hear that he, was exposed to the Quran and his heart changed. But that wasn't the first time he was thinking about change. We hear in different narrations that he heard about Islam. He was a good person from the beginning, right? And then that was just a turning point, right? No one changes overnight, but you can decide to change overnight, right? Right now, as you're listening to this, you realize that I've been on this downhill slope, right? I've just been getting worse and worse and worse, and I feel like I'm slipping away. That Ramadan recharge my Iman battery is dying, right? At this moment, you can make the intention, you know what? I want to be better. I want to be better than I was yesterday. I want to be better than I was before Ramadan, before Shawwal, right? I want to be a better person. And it doesn't have to be drastic. These changes don't have to be drastic. They can be gradual, and they should be gradual, and they should be incremental. I'm going little by little by little. So what do we learn from this? The first thing that we learn from this is, one, everyone is on their separate journeys, right? And for that reason, we can't ever, judge anybody. And people say, don't judge me. And, judging and making assumptions is natural, right? We are assuming tonight the sun is going to set. Why? Because the sun is out right now. Every day the sun sets. So just logical to assume that the sun is going to set, right? But what we mean by don't judge people is don't make these unwarranted assumptions. Have better thought of your Muslim brothers and sisters. Think better of people. Don't make these assumptions that you have no claims for. For example, you may see somebody who is smoking, right? And they're smoking a cigarette, and you automatically think bad of them. But you don't know where they are on their journey. You don't know their timeline, right? Their timeline may be that they started on very bad and hard drugs, right? For example, and then they progressed and they say they want to be better, and they started cutting that off. And they moved to maybe a pack of cigarettes per day. And now, you caught them. Now they're actually only smoking maybe 1 cigarette per day. And they're on this positive path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you don't know that, right? And you might have this arrogance in your heart because you're looking down on that person. And that may be worse. And you may be on your downward slope away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that may be worse in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have to really check ourselves, and we have to think of people in the best manner, and realize that people are on different different journeys and different levels, right? And I said that you should try to strive towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what does that mean? And this is where I want to talk about our true purpose, right? Every single human being should have an aim in their life, should have a goal, a trophy that they're chasing, right? and their life should have a trajectory, and they should be heading somewhere. They shouldn't be wandering aimlessly, right? And it takes time for people to find this out. But today I'm going to tell you, as a Muslim, our trajectory and our goal and our aim should be the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with us, He will show mercy to us and we'll attain Jannah, right? Jannah is the end goal. But to get in, Allah has to let us through with His mercy. And to get the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has to be pleased with us, right? So there's kind of a couple of steps there. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us in an authentic hadith that no one is going to enter Jannah. Nobody will enter Jannah except by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will not enter Jannah based off of their good deeds only. And the companions were like, not even you, Ya Rasulullah? You're not going to enter Jannah based off your, infinite amount of good deeds, all these good deeds that you do? And he said, not even me. Even I will not enter Jannah through my good deeds. It doesn't matter. On the day of judgment, a person will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell him, wow, you've done many good deeds. Go ahead. I will let you into Jannah from my mercy. And the man will say, wait, Allah. I don't want to enter Jannah through your mercy. I mean, I earned Jannah. Look at all the good deeds that I have, And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, no. He'll say, all these good deeds don't even equate to that one blessing that I gave you of eyesight, of vision. You can never repay me for that one blessing. And you think that all these good deeds earned your Jannah? And he says, no, now you are going to go to Jahannam for being ungrateful, right? So it doesn't matter how many good deeds that we do. It matters about the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, does this mean that we don't do good deeds? No, not at all, right? It's through good deeds that we earn the mercy and the pleasure of Allah, the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the key difference between that man and how we want to be is the ingredient of sincerity, right? That man, he could have done all the good deeds that he wanted, but if he did it for the wrong reason, then none of that will count. None of that will matter. So to have sincerity is vital, is important. And that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be pleased with us, is to show Him that we're trying, to show Him that, we may be really far on our journey towards the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? On our journey of faith. But as long as we're trying and we're showing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm sorry, I'm asking for forgiveness. I want to be better. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, inshallah, give us that what we're asking for. And so with that goal in mind, with that aim that we have, we go back to these levels of faith, right? Islam being the lowest level, the bare minimum, and then Iman, having strong belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, working for that, and then trying to attain ihsan, trying to attain excellence in whatever we do, right? Whether that be going to school, whether that be working at a job that you don't like, but whatever we do, we try to do the best, right? And that will open so many doors. But when we're on this journey, we have to realize that there are some priorities, right? You can't just one day decide that, hey, I want to be better. You know what? I'm going to start by giving da'wah to the interfaith community, for example. We had to start with ourselves, right? That's level one. Level one is starting with ourselves, checking our heart. Do we have greed in our heart? Do we have malice in our heart? Do we hate people for, look down upon people? Do we have arrogance in our heart? Checking our heart first, is level one. Then level two, you progress to checking out, what's the situation with your family? Are you being a good daughter? Are you being a good son? Are you being a good brother? Are you being a good parent, right? Like taking control of that, making sure you're trying to reach the best that you can within your own family, right? And then you move on to your community, helping out at the masjid, doing community work. And then going to the communities around you, trying to make the ummah a better place. And then branching out to the interfaith community, reaching out to people who left Islam, reaching out to people, the Christian brothers and sisters that are in our neighborhoods. And a lot of people start at this ladder, backwards. And for example, a person, might be like, I want to start volunteering at the masjid. And I know personally, that's kind of how I started. And and I'm not saying that I'm a good person at all right now. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me. But when I wanted to start being better, I remember, I was obsessed with, like trying to help out at the masjid or trying to do a i'tikaf in the masjid. And that was my idea of, being a better person. And I would call people out. I was very ignorant. But the mistake I was making, those are good things to do. I'm not saying don't do them. But the mistake I was making personally was I was neglecting my own being. I was neglecting the diseases in my heart. I was neglecting my family. I wasn't making sure that I'm a good brother, which I wasn't. I wasn't making sure that I was a good son, which I wasn't at the time, right? And I started, then later on, I realized that I have to start in a certain order, right? Prioritizing things. Never prioritize, helping the world before yourself. People want to change the whole world, but they don't want to do the dishes, right? This is a very common saying. They don't want to make their own bed, right? But they want to change the whole world, right? That's very naive to be thinking that. You have to start with yourself. And this is very, 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 very clear in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. When a man, he wants to join the Prophet ﷺ in a battle, right? And you think fighting the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most noble thing he could have done at that time, but he was wrong. The Prophet ﷺ said, no, you can't join us. I'm not going to allow you. Why? Because you have an elderly mother at home, right? You have an elderly mother at home who needs your attention more than you going out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a priority, right? Taking care of your mom. That's more important for you right now, right? So a lot of us might have elderly parents, right? That need more attention, or our children need to put more attention on our children, right? So there's this hierarchy of, faith. When you're striving for ihsan, when you're striving to be excellent, you have to go in a certain order, right? And so it's clear from the hadith. And when you read the seerah, you see this. The Prophet is working on people. He's working on people who are close to him. He's working on his family members. And his family members used to do really bad things, right? Even the Muslims at that time, they used to drink alcohol, right? They used to consume alcohol, but he didn't reprimand them, stop doing that, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala waited until Medina, actually, until the verses of the alcohol prohibition came down. He waited until these people developed, the Sahaba developed spiritually. They're the best people in the world. They're the best generation ever after the prophets. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that they needed time. They needed to progress. They needed to grow spiritually, right? So that being said, we should strive for excellence. We should strive to be the best in whatever we do. Connect all these goals in our life back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, back to pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we're faced with a difficult situation or a difficult choice to make, will this take me closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or will this take me away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And once we have our goal in mind, it becomes very clear. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to not allow us to belittle any of our actions or anyone else's actions. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to purify our hearts. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to have a clear vision of where we want to take our life. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive all our sins and allow us all to enter into Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la with the ones that we love, without any reckoning, without any hisab. Astaghfirullah li wa lakum wa lisa'iril muslimina min kulli dhanb fastaghfiruhu إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. جزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Anything that's associated with the Quran, Allah raises in ranks. The Quran was revealed to the Muslims, so the Muslims became the best of nations. The Quran was revealed in Ramadan, so Ramadan became the best of months. The Quran was revealed in the night of decree, so the night of decree became the best of nights. If you are connected with the Quran, you will become the best of people. Wallahi, if the Quran was a part of your day will be the best of days. The Quran, the Quran, the Quran. Don't overlook the Quran. Anything that's associated with the Quran, Allah raises in ranks.